Year 10, good morning. I hope you're well. And I also hope everyone managed to have a go at yesterday's lesson, reading these two extracts from Us Simpson and Hillary on touching the void and the interview. Because today I would like you to have a go, please, at writing up a proper answer to another question 2 style question, which is all about summarising and inferring. So just like you did for The Greatest Showman, I'd like you please to have a go at this question, which says, use details from both sources to write a summary of the differences in the ways Simpson and Hillary react to their situation. Remember, all we're doing is summarising and inferring. You don't need to use subject terminology or analyse any words at all. And yesterday I gave you this example of how you might want to start. Hopefully you've already planned, and hopefully you are just going to be writing it up from your own plan that you've already done today. If you haven't already planned, don't worry. You can spend 20 minutes with me now planning it, and then spend the rest of your time writing it up. I've done quite a lot of planning to help you because I think a lot of people maybe struggled with this. Perhaps that was why so few of you sent it in. Well done if you did send it in. Loads of you didn't. So I'm going to go through on the next couple of slides how we should approach this. So I'm going to get rid of my face, you'll be glad to hear. Right, so first thing we need to do is break down the question. Use details from both sources to write a summary of the differences in the ways these two men react. So we're not being asked to comment on what kind of character they are. On The Greatest Showman, you guys started saying things like Barnum is a pig. We're not being asked to comment on their characters. We're being asked to comment on the ways they reacted to their situation. So first things first, draw up a table like this, please, with a line down the middle, and then we have source A on one side and source B on the other side. So do that now. You might need to pause the video. So once you've read through both those extracts, which you did, you can watch the video on it, which I put up yesterday on Tuesday. If you want to have me reading through it again, you can just watch that, or you can read the PDFs that I sent you on Show My Homework yesterday. But you've probably got an idea, haven't you, of what you think about the ways these two men reacted. So to get the top marks, if you think back to the success criteria I showed you on Friday, the most successful students are the ones who synthesise their ideas. They put their whole ideas about both texts into one sentence. And this is how I would do that. I would say Us Simpson is afraid and takes a long time to decide what to do. He does seem afraid. He tells us he's afraid. He tells us he's panicking and has fear. And he also tells us that he spent hours hanging there deciding what to do. So that's the way he reacted to it. He was scared and he took his time. The opposite is true, I think, for source B. Edmund Hillary reacts very quickly and he doesn't appear to feel scared. That is the basis, isn't it, of this question. And that, as a first sentence, would be great because it sums up what you've inferred from both texts. So what we then need to do is get our quotes. Now, I said 4 points, 4 quotes from each source. So that's what I'm going to show you today. If you're struggling with that and you can only manage 3, you crack on with 3. And it's your choice of quotes. I'm going to show you 4 for each now, but it's entirely your choice what you put up. So the first one from source A, great quote this, there was no possibility of getting back to that slope. He tells us there's no possibility. That's what he thought. So what does that tell us about the way he reacted? His initial reaction, he felt helpless, or the situation was hopeless, or he was in despair. If you say to someone, there's no possibility of that, I can't do it, it cannot be done, then, you know, his reaction, it's negative, isn't it? He can't do it. He's given up. He thinks there's no chance. So how can we compare that with source B? Hillary says, oh, it was interesting. When he says, it was interesting the way that my mind worked so quickly and the way that everything seemed to slow down. Let's just have a look at that on the actual interview here. He says, and I just love the way Hillary talks. It's like he's just completely above being emotional. When he fell and he was standing on this chunk of ice, the chunk of ice broke off and he fell into the crevasse. So he's falling at a really fast speed. But he doesn't say, oh my God, I was terrified, I shrieked, I screamed, I thought I was going to die. None of that. He says, it was interesting how everything seemed to start going slowly, even though I was free falling. My mind was obviously working very quickly indeed. And I think that is just brilliant. It's just like, what a confident man. So here I've said, based on that, it was interesting, that quote. Hillary takes a really objective view, like a scientist. He's sort of analysing the way that his mind and body reacted. Very emotionless. He doesn't seem to have any emotion. He's rational. He's almost robotic in the way that he feels about it. So that's his reaction, isn't it? Just thought it was a good quote, made me laugh. Number 2 for source A. This is when Joe, he's on the rope and the rope smashes him against the side of the wall, hitting his broken leg, and he ends up howling in a frenzy of pain and fright. He is in too much pain, isn't he? And he's too scared to make any sort of decision. So the way that he reacts is that he's terrified and he's in pain, he's frightened, he's howling, he's panicking, he's not coping with this very well. Don't blame him. I think that's probably the way all of us would react. Again, let's compare that with our mate Hillary here. He says fear didn't have much opportunity to emerge. Yeah, he's not frightened at all. He was so focused on what was happening that he didn't feel afraid at all. Now these sentences that I'm showing you here, these inferring sentences, all you need to do really is rewrite these as your point, evidence, explain. That's all you need to do. We're not analysing the language though. There's not a great deal of sort of explaining that you have to do. Shall I put my head over there? Is that better? You probably want it gone completely, don't you? How about there? Okay. Number 3 for source A. When I recovered from my wits. I mentioned this a minute ago, didn't I? So what we can infer from that quote about Simpson is that his emotions fluctuate from despair to relief, because he was saying here that he felt helpless, there was no possibility, he was in pain, he was frightened, and then he saw his chance to escape and he started like laughing manically, and then he pulled himself together. So his emotions fluctuate from despair to relief, which makes it hard for him to focus on taking immediate action. So that's how he reacts. He reacts in a very emotional way, which makes it difficult for him to take a rational decision. Whereas Edmund Hillary says, while he was falling, I realised I'd be crushed. And so he took stock of the situation straight away. Took stock means understood what was going on straight away. Like, yes, right, I understand the situation. Which made him take action immediately. So completely different, very emotionless. Last one for the source A. Once Joe had decided what he needed to do, he then was deciding how to do it. And he says that was a difficult decision. He's very circumspect. Do you remember that from Word of the Week? Like looking at a problem from all angles, from a 360-degree view. Like circumference, circumnavigate, circumspect, looking at things from all angles and being very taking your time and judging carefully. So Joe Simpson is very circumspect. When planning his escape, he takes his time, weighs up the odds, decides what's best to do. Is Edmund Hillary circumspect? Well, he didn't take his time in thinking about the consequences when he decided to jump across the crevasse in the first place, did he? He says he just rushed ahead. So I would suggest no. His response to getting himself out of the situation is to say, I just sort of bent my knees and leapt. That's how he got out of it. I just sort of bent my knees and leapt. There's no planning going on here. We can infer from this that he doesn't take time planning because he doesn't have any time. He's in free fall, isn't he? He goes with his gut instinct. So in that regard, they're quite different, aren't they? So those are 4 quotes that I would choose. Those are 4 inferences that I would make. And remember, we're focusing on the differences in the ways they react. We're not talking about what different kinds of men they are. We're not commenting on their character. So have a go at that. Let me move my face again. It's annoying me. Have a go at that, please. Write it up, please, today. Send it across to me and show my homework. If you've got any queries at all, email me, send me a message on show my homework. Thank you for those of you who are doing that. It's really good because it means that you are trying. And all we can ask is that you try. Okay, we just want you to have your best go. Well, I'm not going to come back to this kind of question 2 again. It's only worth 8 marks. There's a lot to do, but it is 8 marks that you can't afford to drop. So, choosing your quotes, what can you infer about the way these men react? On the one hand, Joe Simpson is emotional. He's frightened, he's scared, he takes his time, he considers everything slowly. On the other hand, Edmund Hillary doesn't appear to feel any fear or relief or emotion of any kind. He reacts very, very quickly and just says, it was just a matter of simple mountaineering to get myself out again. And isn't it interesting how your mind speeds up and everything else goes really slowly. He's very objective and just goes for it, just does it, acting on instinct because he's so confident. Okay, so we're not necessarily talking about the 2 characters and their personalities. We are talking about the way they react. That's all it is. Try your best. Let me know if you've got any problems. Have a good day. Keep safe, keep working, and I'll see you soon. Bye.